Hi, my name is Sara and I have grown up in Columbia City my whole life. I am a pastor's wife, and we've been married almost 6 years. We have a 1-year-old little boy, and so I'm looking forward to sharing. I think the thing that God has done the most in my life with making me a more godly woman is just surrounding me with examples. So, kind of with you interviewing people, that has been really cool for me to see. I've grown up in a Christian family, and so my mom, my grandmas, they have been great godly women examples to me, and also just growing up in church, I've had godly women as leaders, youth leaders, and at college, just a lot of mentors and people who have poured into me. Just some of them not even knowing probably that they are doing that, but I'm watching them, how they live their life, how they raise their families, and so that's been a really cool thing for me, is just to watch other people do it. And then also, just with the trials in life, whether it's bumps in the road that I didn't expect, unanswered prayers, or things that I've had to wait for, those have been times that have pushed me to be more godly, and just striving to figure out what He wants from me. Some other things that have really pushed me to be more godly are just being in the Word, reading inspiring books, hearing from speakers and pastors. Those things have really just been important for me to look at daily. And then just repeated examples of God's faithfulness in my life, answered prayer that I didn't expect, or just those periods of waiting that I mentioned, really seeing Him answer that later than I expected, but also knowing that, He's proven His faithfulness to me. That's really helped me. For me, this is something that um, is something I really have to think about and be really intentional with, because it can be really easy, especially as a pastor's wife, to view serving at the church as a duty or a job. And so I think this past year has been really cool for me to see God speak to me in just the importance of serving with eagerness and doing it out of a willing heart, and not it becoming a chore or something that I kind of dread, or something that I just have to check off my weekly to-do list. But really being intentional and viewing it as a calling is a really key thing. There's a couple verses that I like to think about when I am viewing this role in the church. And one of them is 1 Peter 5:2. And that one just talks about how when we're caring for God's flock, that it's important to, kind of like I said, to do it out of a willing spirit and not a grudgingly attitude or anything like that. And then also to be eager in serving God. And so those are, willing and eager are two words out of that verse that I really take hold of when I'm viewing, just serving the people that God has entrusted us with. And then the other verse is Luke 22:26. Which talks about how the leader must become the servant. And so just taking that attitude of as a leader, you can't just view it as, oh, I'm the leader, and you really have to take the servant, the lesser approach. And that's something that doesn't come easy. It's not natural for us, but it's important. For me, some of the things that I've had to overcome in order to become more godly are, I think the biggest thing is selfishness, and this is not something that I've overcome completely by any means. I think it's a daily struggle, but things like marriage and parenting have really helped strip me of selfishness and just force me to think of others, and to, it's okay if I don't get everything done in a day that I want to, or the priorities that I set sometimes become so huge when I really lose sight of what really matters. I think sometimes the people that we love the most are sometimes the ones that we hurt the most, just because we take them for granted. And so just overcoming selfishness, I think, is something that's really huge. would say that one of the biggest things that I wish I would have heard when I was a teenager is that you're not alone. And I think, when I was walking through my teen years, I think people would have said that I was a little more mature than some of my friends, and, they were going down paths that I knew I didn't want. I was very long-term focused. I set goals and didn't really want to settle for less in my life. And so, not to say that I made every decision perfectly by any means, but I really wanted, what God's best was for my life. And so I wish that I would have heard more examples of people who made it, so to speak, and who did that, years ahead of me, and were thankful that they did. I know that I heard stories like that, but I wish that I would have heard more of those just consistently through my life. I think one of the things too that I wish I would have heard was just in those times of waiting for answered prayers. For me, two of the biggest things that I prayed for as a teen was for a Christian, a godly man, a spouse, and then for just wisdom and discernment with going to a college. I really wanted to go to a Christian college, and my parents weren't able to help me financially with college, and so I knew that that was on me. And that's a tall task these days with how much college costs, and so I prayed a lot for those two things specifically as a teen. And so just seeing those prayers answered now as I look back is really cool. But at the time, that was a lot of years of waiting. I didn't really date seriously in high school at all. Went on a couple of dates with guys that I knew right away that I checked off as nope, not husband material. And so I waited a long time and didn't start dating seriously until really my sophomore year of college. And so that was hard. Just when my friends had, serious relationships and things like that, it was hard to know that, okay, this is okay, this is what God wants for my life. And so again, just hearing you're not alone, keep, doing what the Lord wants. Another piece of advice I would say for just becoming more godly is to set a specific time each day to spend time in the Word. That's something that is different for everyone. It's different depending on your phase of life. For me, when I was a teenager, I am definitely a late night person, and so I always loved to do it right before I went to bed, spend an hour or two with the Lord before bed, and I love that time. I looked forward to that time, but that changed as I got married. My husband likes to go to bed early, and so I wasn't living by myself anymore. I couldn't just do it whenever I wanted, and so it kind of was an adjustment period of figuring out, okay, when is that, best for me? And I was working full time, so just becoming busier with life is hard to carve out that time. And then having a kid and becoming a stay-at-home mom, I thought, I'm going to have all this free time. I'm going to be able to do that whenever I want. But it's amazing how those 24 hours just disappear. And so really it took until a few months after Grant was born for me to finally be able to, I had caught up on my sleep from having him, and I decided I just need to get up early. And so now I get up at least by 6:30 every morning and make sure I'm showered and spend time in the Word before he even gets up, and that has been really cool. And I think just making sure you find ways to make the Word refreshing and new to you is really important. For me, growing up in the church, I went to a Christian college too, and so it's hard to find ways sometimes to make it new and refreshing and not kind of stale. And so that's something that I find is just, making sure that maybe it's a new place that maybe I'm outside reading it, or maybe it's just going through different books of the Bible. The 1 Year Bible I'm starting up soon, and so just, again, kind of mixing it up and keeping it refreshing.
I thought about too, I wish I had heard of people who did that when they were younger, and then it paid off.
Yes.
Because sometimes I'm just like, I'm just sitting here preparing, and I don't even know if it's going to work.
Yep.
But, so that's really funny. I did not know that at all.
Yeah. The one night at youth group where we did like a guy-girl panel. Okay. But Jim Siller, I look up to him so much. He was one of my favorite teachers, and I still admire his Bible, how it's held together with duct tape, you know. And but he said something on that panel that I think that he's taught for over, 20 25 years or something. And in all the weddings he's been to and all the marriages that he's seen, the happiest couples are the ones that have waited and maybe didn't even date in high school at all. And so I was like, why didn't you tell me this when I was in high school? But, I think you hear it differently, too, when it's already happened. And then I don't know if he was the one that said it, but someone has said that, in your whole span of life, your dating years are just like a dot on the whole spectrum of life. But in that time, it feels like such an eternity, if you don't have someone or someone that you feel like is husband material. And so I wish I would have heard that too. So
I remember hearing Mr. Sittler say that too, and I was like, oh, what?
Yes.
There's hope?
There is hope, yeah.
So.
And my youth pastor, when I was in high school, I just remember her saying that, she was so confident that I was going to find someone, and I remember thinking, why does she think that? Like, this is such a, just because I had never dated, so. I think that the things that stick out to me the most as far as attributes are just being selfless, humble, really seeking what the Lord wants first in their life, and just desiring, what brings him glory the most.